Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Today is our special guest day, where we will hear from a friend of the ministry who will share their insight and stories on truth in this chaotic world. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are on Guest Thursday, and we have some very special guests that we've had on before. But Kathy, why don't you introduce them since they're right there in your studio?
Yeah, so excited to have them both here. But this is Kendra and Nathan Langevin, longtime friends of ours. How long have we known each other now? 14 years, yeah. I think. And ministry partners with us. They partner with us on our retreats here in New Hampshire. And as of recently have started partnering with several other people on their retreats too. Dave and Melissa are learning the joy of having Kendra and Nathan at a retreat as well. And anyway, a couple of my favorite people who walk closely with God and some of our dearest friends, honestly.
That's great. What's your favorite food that you like to serve at retreats?
Oh, that's tough.
That's a good question. I think more than my favorite food, it'd just be the idea of recycling the food, taking something that's leftovers and turning it into something else. That's probably the favorite part.
And you never know he's done it. Like we can't tell.
Right.
That's what's amazing.
Like give us.
I'll give you one of my new favorites though that he made.
Okay.
We were just at a retreat up at Dave and Melissa's recently, and he made this. I don't even know what it was. It was his stuffed chicken breast with like pesto and ricotta and sun-dried tomatoes or something. And it was to die for with these grilled vegetables. And I think I could eat that every night if I had the chance. So yeah.
That's
that
neat.
Was good. It was good.
That was a good item, yeah.
That's neat.
Oh, along with little pumpkin trifles or what do you call them?
Pumpkin cheesecake.
Yeah, pumpkin cheesecake layered in these cute little jars that were so yummy.
Oh yeah, those are fantastic. I love those. Yeah. When my dad was a surgeon, and he grew up in a if you guys have probably watched Downton Abbey.
Yep.
Yeah.
He grew up kind of in that culture where he had servants and nannies, and so he was used to he himself, and he made us do this too, is we would show up at dinner in basically formal wear.
Wow.
And it was always multi-course dinners, served by a cook. Wow. And so when I grew up, you said you made leftovers. I didn't even know what it was.
I bet.
Because my dad wouldn't allow it. If there's anything left over, you had to, give that away and not include it. So when I first got married to Linda, we have dinner, and then the next day there's this stuff. It's like,
what's this?
What is this? And she says, well, that's leftover from yesterday. What? What do you mean? What did you do to this? Where's my steak and potatoes?
Funny.
I learned how to do leftovers, believe me.
Nathan can truly take anything left over and turn it into a completely new dish, and you don't know that you're having leftovers.
Yeah,
that it is absolutely impressive.
He would trick you.
Yes,
that's great.
Not know the difference.
Yeah, most people don't know when I make leftovers that they're leftovers, because there's other food with it that makes it, just transforms it into something else.
Yeah.
How did you learn that?
Years and years of my dad and growing up, just he'd cook, and we'd have dinner, two different dinners. Like Monday be different, Tuesday be different, and then Wednesday was leftovers. But it was never really the same meal. It was always something else made into that meal.
Yep. Wow. So you learned how to be a really good cook, I guess, huh?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yeah, I owe a lot to my father. He always cooked for an army, whether it was 4 or 3 people. So, yeah.
That's neat. That's neat. Well, that's fantastic. Well, remind the audience again of tell us about your marriage, children, and what kind of work you guys are doing.
So we've been married for.
I go
Get it right,
I'm
Nathan.
gonna get it
You
right
can
here.
do it.
21 years. Yeah.
21 years. Yeah.
That's
Should be easy math. We were married in 2001.
that's a good thing to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so we have 2 kids. We have a 19-year-old son who's on his way to be an electrician, and our 14-year-old daughter who's right now in high school, freshman, and they're great. I mean, we can't complain. We have really good kids.
Great.
We've been blessed.
Yeah.
And I do human resources work, and I think on my way to potentially doing other work, which I can talk about in a bit. And how about you for work?
How about me? I'm in school nutrition, so I'm work for the town of Billerica. I make sure the kids have the right meals for the day.
Oh, neat.
Whether it's make sure they have the vegetables and all the stuff components they require.
Yep. So you just make it happen. You don't cook them all, right? I take it.
I do not cook in the kitchens anymore. No.
Only for retreats.
That's great.
Which we're thankful for.
Yeah. And whereabouts do you guys live?
We live in Haverhill, Massachusetts, which is just right over the border from New Hampshire.
Okay. Great. Well, why don't you, last time you shared about, your life as a couple and, discerning God's will and kind of, you got lots of things going on, I know. Tell us, how's it going? Tell us about your abiding. What's it look like what are you dealing with in terms of processing with God?
Yeah, I mean,
There's been a lot that's happened
going
since
on
we've
right
been online.
I mean, I can speak for me a little bit, and then we can.
Just speak for
For
you
you,
and then
yeah.
both, and then I'll jump in here and there.
So for me, God has been working on me and my calling and what He wants me to do. And by the way, I cry a lot. So if I cry, just ignore me.
We just keep talking.
Yes.
All good.
But I have been in human resources for like 25 years, and just kind of coming to a place of, while I enjoy that work, I just don't feel like it's what God has called me to do now. And I kind of equate it to like an outfit that doesn't really, suit me anymore. Like it's no longer my taste, if you will. So, He is really calling me into what I'll call a like Christian life coaching, career coaching business called Made for More. And He has given me that dream and that desire for a couple years, but it became very apparent, I'll say, in the past few months that I really need to do this.
Right.
And one little fun story was when he just makes things so clear. And, sometimes the opening of doors and closing of doors can be painful, but yet it's clear. So I'm thankful for that clarity. But I go to Michigan a lot for work. And I literally, one particular week, a month ago, I get on an airplane, I land in Michigan, and I get a text, there are no lights in the facility. The 3 days I'm there, no lights in the facility. I finally get on the plane to go home, and the lights come back on. And God said to me, this was your ministry or your mission field, and you're done now. Like this season, this chapter is over. And while He hasn't actually moved me out of the job that I'm in yet, I can feel that He's moving. And yeah, it's just spending time with Him, hearing from Him.
Well, and to preface that, even, it's not like that was just this isolated,
Yeah.
It dropped in. You're processing and asking Him questions about this all the time.
Yeah.
He has planted this dream in your heart for the coaching type thing as well.
Yeah.
And then she has stayed in process. We've talked so many times about staying in process and continuing to ask. That is your day in, day out, is processing with Him and then allowing Him to speak and giving Him space to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when He does these supernatural things that He just immediately pops in and says, hey, I just gave you a visual representation of what I'm doing here. the time is now. Pay
Yeah,
attention.
right.
She's already postured to hear that.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions, and have you back up a little bit. So you said that that God a couple of years ago started to lay on a new kind of a idea for you of where He wanted to take you. The role of the Holy Spirit is to speak to you of things to come. So talk about what did that look like specifically when you just even began to all of a sudden realize that, oh, I'm supposed to at least pay attention and consider something new. What was that like? What did that look like and feel like to you? Because it wasn't like, here's your answer and get going. It was, I'm alerting you to something, and now I need you to pay attention. How did that alert come to you, and how did you start to pay attention to that?
Oh, so good. You ask great questions. I guess as you ask that, I think back to, and I'm now forgetting what year, if it was even 2018-ish, but I had learned to abide. In my journal, I prayed and asked God, what's my purpose? Like, why did you make me? And we all have, I call it like a macro purpose, right? Which is to build up His kingdom and to preach the gospel. But really, like, why did you make Kendra? How did you wire me? And for what do you want me to do to serve you? And I went on what I call a Godcation, which I do, once to twice every year, which is really just I get away with God and spend time with Him. And so during that time of what is my purpose? Why did you make me? And spending time away with Him and only Him for 5 straight days, He really impressed upon my heart, I made you to help, your purpose is to help other people discover their purpose. And He's given me this like uncanny ability to hear people and what they are gifted at, what they love, and to help them see how God made them, and what their purpose is. But really more than that, going back to God and helping them, like bringing them back to the Father,
Teaching them
and
to abide.
teaching them to abide in
Yeah.
the process. So, He started opening doors. He started, just by me talking to a pastor saying, I think this is my purpose. What do you think about that? And the pastor saying, actually, I'm looking for someone who could teach our people about their spiritual gifts, and we call the program Place, and how to help people understand how they can serve in their churches. And God just opened doors, right? And it's paying attention to that. God brings
In obedience and stepping in.
Yes.
Because you've got to say the yes, right?
Yes. And you do it, I will say a little bit, you do it afraid, but He equips you to do it. So anyway, it's been fun to kind of watch it all unfold. And it's just been follow the next step. And He's been providing the next steps, and I've been stepping, and sometimes saying, I don't know what I'm doing, like why I'm doing this, but I know it's just the next thing to do. And then you look back and you say, okay, I get how those things came together and where He's sort of leading me. So yeah, you just keep staying with Him and asking and obeying, and doing the next thing He prompts you to. Right.
How did you handle that perspective that I'm willing to go a step at a time, as opposed to, okay, yeah, I really like this, I really get excited. A lot of us would say, I'm taking off and I'm going to make this happen. How did you stay in that place of, well, I'm just going to see the next step and let it come, let God lead me, as opposed to me taking over?
It's hard, I'll say, because like the human in me, right? You just want to jump ahead and you get so excited. But I think I've come to realize that my plans are not as good as His plans, right? That I've tried things in my own power, and we all do. And they just don't work out as well. And it's a bit like futile, right? Like, yeah, I have to do what he's telling me to do. And I do get impatient. I do have chats with him of like, let's go. But I know he's also working out the patience part to grow that in me too. So it's hard to not get ahead of him. But at the same time, I
also
can
freeing, right?
Yeah,
Like when I talk to you about it, that's something you talk about.
Yeah. So
What is, can you give us an example along that path over the last couple of years where something specifically happened where you knew this is more what he's doing to show me that I'm going down the right path? Where you said, I noticed this, and that was God, and I saw that. Is there something you could share where, boy, you really saw that happen?
And I'll give you two recent things. One is in my HR career, and this is where I've realized the flesh of me has thought, gee, this is my career. I've worked so hard. I've grown up the corporate ladder, and gee, wouldn't the next, promotion make sense, and the next job make sense?
Right.
And I'll say periodically, and I just lived through this, that the door sort of closed to say, basically the business said, Kendra, we hired someone above you. You're not getting that job. And me sort of having this moment of, what do you mean? I've worked my whole career, But then, after I, decompressed a little bit and went back to God to say, what is this? What does this mean? He really was like, I am redirecting you. The only way that you are going to do what I need you to be doing is if I close this door and I'm going to open this other door, which then leads to my other story where at a retreat, I had met a woman who I had never met before. And at a dinner, one of the meals that Nathan made, we all sit down and eat. And she said, I'd love to talk to you about HR. I think I might be interested in HR. And I said, sure, give me a call. And we talked. And anyway, it came into me starting to coach her that I don't know that HR is really what you want. Let's talk about that. Let's do some assessments that I know about for careers. And through this process of coaching her, literally in a 4-week period, I had said to her, why don't you network with these couple people in your company to see if this is the kind of work you want to do. And she got offered a job actually in the actual area we identified that she would want to do. And she prayed about it. I prayed with her, and we were just on this journey together. And she landed this other job. But my point is, and I'm so excited for her, but I saw God do this, right? Like he brought me, he brought me this person. He created this relationship and friendship through it.
Out of nowhere. And
really allowed me to do what I believe he's calling me to do, almost like a practice, I think of it. And I'm so thankful for that opportunity, but it's again him redirecting me and providing those divine appointments
and even giving you the confidence, showing you, by the way, when you step into this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like.
Yes.
For me to do this through you.
Yes.
Pay attention.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a couple things you just said in there that are important for all of us to learn is as you're learning that I'm taking you to a new place, our thought about his will is, well, then just get me there right away. And he's saying, well, I'm going to give it to you, and I want you to be faithful in small things.
Right.
And let me reinforce it. You'll see me bring the increase, but it usually isn't a leap into something big. It's usually let me build it, and you start to recognize it, and you're demonstrating that in a beautiful way. And then another thing that you talked about, which I think is a very important piece of this, is that you said you've been in HR for 20 some years, right?
Yeah, 25.
25 years, and you're good at it. You've enjoyed it, and God's will, obviously could have been, well, I want to just have you continue in that place and serve me because you're both good at it, you enjoy it, and I'm going to bless you in it. But you said that you sense that you kind of lost enthusiasm for it, and what I call a holy dissatisfaction. Is that yeah, I don't feel the same way anymore. So what happened while you're getting this? I'm taking you down a new path. I have to take you down this other path as well of holy dissatisfaction, so that you don't stay where you are. I've got to move you, and don't think of it as what's wrong with me, because that's what I hear a lot of is, my job is, I don't like my job anymore. There must be something wrong with me. I said, probably not. It's probably this holy dissatisfaction. So what did that look like for you?
Oh, that's a good one. Because I went through the what's wrong with me, right? Why wasn't I picked for this job? Why did they hire someone else? And so I went through that, and I had to let the Lord minister to my heart for that. To tell me so the name of my business is Made for More. And he said, Kendra, I made you for more. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And, I've always wanted, I'll say, to go into ministry. And I know my profession has been my ministry.
Yep.
And I see how it has been. But, ultimately, there's the holy dissatisfaction has come in when I've realized, while I can do HR, and yes, I am good at HR and that work, I come alive, and I know the feeling now because he's given me these divine appointments and opportunities. I know what that feels like to be in the moment, letting the Spirit lead me through coaching, through conversations. And to me, like, there is nothing better than that feeling.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Nathan, as you were observing all this and part of it, what role did you play in the process? What were you seeing, and how did you walk together as you're supporting what you're observing and walking into God's will?
That was a lot of prayer with her. Because she puts things on her heart very much, very, very. She takes it very daily to her heart when stuff like that happens to her. So it was a lot of I would say consoling and praying with her, and telling her this is it's okay. It's God's gonna tell us what's next, and we just gonna listen. Yeah. So it was a couple rough days, but
it was.
But through the prayer and everything, I got it early on that, like, you're gonna be okay. He's got something else for you. But she was still kind of like, I told her, you were in the worldly part of your life and trying to really live worldly part and not listen to God.
Yeah, he'll keep me grounded, right? Like, he brings me back. Because, especially there were a few days of like ugly Kendra, of the worldly people. Like, I got passed over for a job that I thought I was getting, and like all these things. And I worked 25 years for what? The disappointment, all those like very natural things. And yes, like, he's very good at like getting me back to the Father's feet, really, to say, this is, it's okay. He's got a plan, and lots of prayer.
Yeah. I love what you said there, though. He didn't come in and try to fix it and tell you'll put out the fire or whatever. He took you back to Jesus's feet. And I think that's a big thing when we're walking alongside each other, something as spouses that we can do for each other is, our tendency, and my tendency as a mom, is always to try to fix things.
Well, that is totally my tendency, is to fix it.
And to learn to do it differently, right?
Yeah.
That it's not fixing, it's bringing them back to Jesus's feet and going there together, walking with them there. And that's where the effectiveness is.
Yep.
Yeah. And Nathan, what was your understanding as you're watching that unfold? Did you see that God was getting her ready to move to a different place, and you were actually kind of aware of it, and then how to support what God was helping you?
I think I was ahead of her on the whole thing. Like, I knew she she's been talking about this business for a while, and God's, about her Godifications, about how God's working her to do this. And I keep telling her, just slow down, let God take the steps for you, and you'll get there. And I knew it would come eventually, but my wife likes instant, and sometimes that's hard. And for me, I knew it was just to make sure she was going back to the Lord, to make sure she was asking Him the questions and not me. And that's hard for me, like I said before, because anything she asked me, like, well, this is what you should do. It's really for me to try to fix it, but it's not wasn't my problem to fix,
right.
And it wasn't like she was asking me to fix it for her.
Right.
I just needed to make sure she went to the right place to get the right.
Right.
And then confirm together
Yeah.
what the Lord
Yes.
is telling
Yeah.
both of
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan was ahead of me in everything, by the way. He was ready to get married before I was he was ready for everything before me. I'm slower. I take a while.
Yeah. Yeah. What a beautiful description of the value, by the way, of unity and, helping each other, so that it's not about a couple saying, well, I know what you should do, let's go do it. It's rather, well, let's go to God together, and I'm going to help you stay in there. Don't quit. Don't get ahead of God. He'll give us the answer. Let me help you stay there. And then as you started to see it, it was reinforced, because Nathan could say, this is his step. Yeah, I am reinforcing that step. And it's such a beautiful description of the fellowship and the joy of doing it together, versus even, well, hey, honey, go figure that out and let me know, or I'm going to tell you what to do. Is you actually shared the process together in a very healthy way.
And I want to actually say, and I'll totally cry with this, but there were a couple mornings where God woke him up at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and gave him verses.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And then, I'd be 5 a.m. waking up, and he would be right there. Let me tell you what Jesus said for you. So.
Yeah. And what did that do for you?
Oh, it was like so encouraging, and back to, actually, there's been a shift even with us, less fixing, more bringing to Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. And so the Lord knew those were words I needed to hear, right? And so I said to him, let me see what you wrote. I got to write that in my journal. Like, I want to spend time with those words, because they just fed my heart. So it was just a beautiful thing to do when I so needed it from him, and from Jesus.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you both for sharing that beautiful experience of, God telling you what's coming up, pay attention, step by step, helping each other do that, staying in unity, reinforcement, holy dissatisfaction. All of that is so beautiful. We want to pick up again next week with you again, and Nathan, have you share a little bit about what's also going on with you. And how you guys are functioning, but it couldn't be a more beautiful expression of, to me, what I sense, and I'm very, very, kind of have a thrill in my heart, is how fantastic is it that you've learned how to walk that beautiful life with God, and you've actually enjoyed the walk as much as you're going to enjoy the answers. So
Yes.
that's really, right. Really fun. So Kathy, I know you're part of all that, and it's exciting to be part of it. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And we will have tomorrow, Kathy will have End Times Friday, but we'll pick Nathan and Kendra up again next week, and we want to continue more of their story.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.